a faint whisper carved into stone. That's all it takes to unravel everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. Imagine standing in front of a weather-beaten tablet, its symbols twisting like vines across the surface. Familiar enough to feel intentional, yet alien enough to deny even the greatest linguists a foothold. The symbols stare back silently, mocking centuries of effort and gripping every scholar with the same irresistible question: who wrote this? And why can't we understand them? For more than 100 years, this forgotten script, one of the last undeciphered languages on Earth, has defied cryptographers, historians, mathematicians, code breakers, and even artificial intelligence. Civilizations rise and fall, databases grow, supercomputers leap forward, and still the language refuses to speak. It is as if the people who created it lived in a world parallel to ours, connected only by the stubborn fragments they left behind. The story begins on a small, sun-baked island in the Aegean Sea. In the early 1900s, an archaeologist brushed away centuries of dust and exposed a clay tablet unlike anything he had ever seen. The lines were carved with a sure hand, not the chaotic scratches of a child or the accidental marks of daily life. This was a message, structured, orderly, deliberate. But it wasn't Greek. It wasn't Phoenician. It wasn't any language he recognized. He had no idea he was holding the first clue to one of history's most persistent mysteries. This was the birth of the modern obsession with what we now call linear A. To appreciate the frustration this language causes, you have to understand something. Humans are very good at cracking old scripts. Give us a fragmentary language, a few bilingual texts, a Rosetta Stone, and we will eventually unlock its secrets. We've done it with Egyptian hieroglyphs, with cuneiform, with Mayan glyphs. We cracked Linear B, Linear A's younger sibling, and discovered it was an early form of Greek used for palace accounting. Linear B opened like a door, but Linear A remains a wall. A wall built by a civilization known as the Minoans, one of the most intriguing cultures of the Bronze Age. The Minoans thrived on Crete more than 4,000 years ago, a maritime powerhouse with advanced architecture, vibrant art, and trade networks stretching across the Mediterranean. Their island was a crossroads of cultures. They had writing, bureaucracy, engineering, and a social complexity that places them among the world's earliest urban societies. And yet we cannot read a single sentence they wrote. Historians believe the Minoans used Linear A for everything from religious offerings to administrative records. We have dozens of tablets, hundreds of inscriptions, and thousands of individual signs. And still, nothing. No breakthrough, no translation. Just a crippling silence. What makes Linear A so difficult isn't only its age, but its isolation. Most ancient languages belong to well-mapped families: Semitic, Indo-European, Afro-Asiatic, Sino-Tibetan. They evolve, split, merge, and leave behind linguistic breadcrumbs. Linear A doesn't seem to fit anywhere. It's like meeting someone who looks human, but speaks a language with no known relatives. Every few years, a new contender steps forward claiming they've finally solved it. A retired engineer says it's early Hebrew. A professor suggests it's a dialect of ancient Turkish. A mathematician insists it's a number-based code masking a completely different spoken language. Enthusiasts propose Basque, Sumerian, or even a language spoken before humans settled the Mediterranean. Each claim sparks excitement, until scholars test it against the known symbols, and it collapses like a card castle. The reason becomes clear once you examine the surviving tablets. They're short, very short. Many contain lists of goods or names, the kind of mundane administrative notes that civilizations often leave behind. Helpful for understanding economy, perhaps, but devastating when trying to decode a language. It's the equivalent of trying to understand English if the only words you had were wheat, goats, barley, honey, and 3 jars of olive oil. And then there's the issue of sound. We have no recording, no comparison, no pronunciation. For many signs, we don't even know whether we're dealing with syllables, full words, or entire concepts. Some symbols appear frequently, suggesting common words like and or of. Others appear only once, leaving scholars unsure whether they represent a rare word or a mistake. One of the most tantalizing mysteries is the fact that Linear A shares many symbols with Linear B, the script that was deciphered in the 1950s. When codebreakers realized the two scripts resembled each other, optimism surged. Many assumed Linear A would be next, but when Linear B was decoded, scholars hit an unexpected roadblock. The shared symbols didn't represent the same sounds. A sign that meant pa in Linear B might represent a completely different syllable or even a completely different type of sound in Linear A. Whatever relationship the two systems once had drifted too far apart to be useful. Still, amidst all this uncertainty, there are moments of stunning clarity. On one famous tablet, archaeologists found what appears to be a list of offerings, possibly to different gods. Each line ends in a recurring symbol that resembles a cup. Scholars suspect it might refer to a unit of measurement or a ceremonial vessel. Another inscription describes what appears to be a calendar cycle, hinting that the Minoans tracked seasons with remarkable precision. Then there is the most haunting object of all, the Phaistos disc, a palm-sized clay disc stamped on both sides with a spiraling sequence of mysterious symbols, unlike anything found elsewhere in the ancient world. Some believe it's a prayer. Others think it's a hymn, a charm, a story, or even a board game. Some argue it's not Linear A at all. Theories range from brilliant to bizarre. But one thing is certain. The disc has survived thousands of years without yielding a single confirmed word. It's a symbol of the Minoans' enduring secrecy, literally and metaphorically. And yet, the greatest twist in the story of this lost language might be the reason it disappeared. Around 1450 BCE, something, no one agrees on what, shattered Minoan society. Some point to a massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, one of the most powerful explosions in human history. Others suggest invading forces from mainland Greece. Some blame earthquakes, famine, or a slow decline accelerated by shifting trade routes. Regardless of the cause, the Minoans fell. Linear A faded, and the knowledge of how to read it vanished with the last of its scribes. Imagine an entire civilization going silent in the span of a generation. Entire lifetimes of knowledge, gone. Entire libraries of meaning, lost. There's a sense of tragedy in the idea that people live full, complex lives, wrote down their stories, their laws, their prayers, their thoughts, and not a single one of them can be understood by their descendants thousands of years later. We read the Egyptians. We read the Mesopotamians. But the Minoans? Their voice remains locked away. Still, hope persists, stubborn and unshakable. New discoveries appear every few years, an inscription on a pottery shard, a seal stone buried in a collapsed building, a new fragment unearthed by construction workers. Each discovery adds a tiny piece to the puzzle. Digital models are now analyzing symbol patterns far too complex for humans to detect. Advanced imaging techniques are revealing faint marks invisible to the naked eye. Some scholars believe that one day we'll find the Minoan equivalent of a Rosetta Stone, a bilingual inscription that finally bridges the gap. Others argue that the key won't be found in the ground, but in understanding how the Minoans thought, lived, traded, worshipped, and interacted with their neighbors. Language is shaped by culture. When the culture becomes clearer, the words may begin to follow. But for now, Linear A remains silent, a challenge, a temptation, a puzzle demanding to be solved. Perhaps that's the real power of this lost language, not in the words themselves, whatever they might say, but in the irresistible desire to understand them. The Minoans didn't just leave behind palaces and pottery, they left behind a mystery that spans generations, and every scholar who attempts to crack it becomes part of a story that began more than 4,000 years ago, when a scribe dipped a stylus into soft clay and wrote something meant to last. They must have believed someone would read it. They couldn't have imagined it would be us. And they certainly couldn't have imagined that we still can't. Yet.